By Sri Lanka's best internet package for online learning and online working with many amazing offers. Call 1212 for more information. Sri Lanka Telecom.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, isolated incident. Sri Lankan Airlines clarifies that infected Chinese passengers on UL 866 were first to be detected after 15 previous flights. Narrowing the gap, the central bank reports that the trade deficit has shrunk to $161 million, the lowest since August 2009. Full speed ahead. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa announces that the provision of 150,000 jobs will commence with immediate effect. 225 minus 2. The Election Commission says that the Parliament will reconvene on the 20th, minus the UNP and OPPP nationalist seats. All that and much more coming up on First at 9, this Friday, the 14th of August, 2020.
Nava Sunlight Sakura. Then Dikukal Pavatina Sakura Mal Suandin.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhamke Kanaka. Let's start with the local stories. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has decided to recommence the program to provide employment opportunities for 150,000 persons, which was halted due to the general election. The objective of the program is to transform Sri Lanka into a country free from poverty, as per the President's policy statement, Vistas of Prosperity.
In his policy manifesto, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa pledged the generation of 50,000 employment opportunities for unemployed graduates and 100,000 jobs for the underprivileged families in a bid to eradicate poverty. As pledged, the program commenced in January this year with a multi-purpose development task force established to recruit 100,000 low-income earners. The shortlisting of suitable candidates from applications received from graduates also commenced in the first week of February. With the 2020 general election being announced upon instructions of the chairman of the Election Commission, the program was put on hold. With the general election concluded, the President today announced the recommencement of the program, which will recruit 50,000 unemployed graduates while providing job opportunities to 100,000 people from low-income families. The relevant list of employed graduates will be published on the official website of the Ministry of Public Services, Provincial Councils and Local Government on Monday the 17th. The ministry will immediately commence sending letters of appointment to those who were selected, and appointed candidates should report to their nearest divisional secretariat on the 2nd of September.
Enjoy a very smooth shave with the Big Easy 2 razor. Big Easy 2.
Now, Sri Lankan Airlines says that previously over 3,000 Chinese nationals were repatriated to China on board 15 charter flights aboard UL 866 without incident before last Friday's flight to Shanghai, where 25 Chinese nationals were found to be COVID-19 positive. The discovery of the 25 positive cases resulted in China's aviation authorities slapping a 4-week ban on Sri Lankan Airlines flight UL 866 as part of its new policy to minimize the threat of COVID-19 infections entering the country.
The national carrier Sri Lankan Airlines issued a clarification on reports of the airline's Shanghai flights being suspended for 4 weeks by the Civil Aviation Authority of China. According to the statement, the airline explained that the flight cited by Chinese authorities as the basis for the suspension was a charter flight operated from Dubai to Colombo and then on to Shanghai on the 7th of this month, carrying 223 Chinese nationals. The airline added that with the charter operator having insisted on all passengers being subjected to PCR tests 72 hours before boarding, tests were carried out at a recognized testing facility used by most international airlines. Sri Lankan says that at the time, all 223 test results came back negative for COVID-19. However, the statement explains that despite the negative test results, 25 passengers had tested positive after further tests were carried out upon their arrival in Shanghai. Following the Chinese Aviation Authority's 5-1 policy that aimed to restrict an airline's flights to one per week as part of the country's COVID-19 prevention efforts, Sri Lankan Airlines has operated 15 charter flights to repatriate over 3,000 Chinese passengers from the United Kingdom and Dubai to China without any prior incidents. The new policy put in place by the Civil Aviation Authority of China also includes temporary flight suspensions slapped on airlines with up to 5 positive COVID-19 cases found on board. With the discovery of 25 positive patients on board the 7th August charter flight, Sri Lankan Airlines flight UL 866 has been suspended for a period of 4 weeks as per the new regulations. Further, the CAAC stated yesterday that with the suspension, airlines will not be allowed to transfer their original quotas allocated to the suspended flights to other routes. The airline added that Sri Lankan cargo operations remain unaffected and will continue to fly to China when required.
A host of new cabinet ministers and state ministers assumed duties today as well after they were sworn in on Wednesday. After taking office, Minister of Agriculture Mahinda Anandaluthgamage revealed that he plans to moot tax relief for those investing in the agri-sector.
Among those who assumed duties today are Cabinet Minister of Wildlife and Forest Conservation C.B. Ratnayaka, Minister of Environment Mahinda Amaravira, Minister of Ports and Shipping Rohitha Abegunawardena, Minister of Public Administration, Provincial Councils and Local Government Janaka Bandara Tennakone, and Minister of Transportation Gamini Lokuge. Meanwhile, the new Minister of Agriculture Mahinda Anandaluthgamage assumed duties at the Govijana Mandire in Battaramulla. Speaking to media, he said that people willing to invest in the agri-sector will be provided with special tax exemptions.
අපි ආරාධනා කරනවා කෘෂිකර්ම අමාත්‍යවරයා හැටියට මේ රටේ ආයෝජකයන්ට කෘෂිකර්ම ශාස්ත්‍රයට ඔබ ආයෝජනය කරන්න කියලා. අපි රජයෙන් ඉල්ලීමක් කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා කෘෂිකර්ම ශාස්ත්‍රයට ආයෝජනය කරන ආයෝජකයන්ට විශේෂ බදු සහන ලබා දෙන්න කියන ඉල්ලීමක් මම කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා.
In the meantime, new State Minister of Provincial Councils and Local Government, Rear Admiral Dr. Sarath Weerasekara, also assumed office today.
මමත් 13 වෙනි සංශෝධනයට ඉතාම තදින් විරුද්ධ වෙච්ච කෙනෙක්. ඉතින් 13 වෙනි සංශෝධනයට විරුද්ධ වෙච්ච මට පළාත් සභා වාර්ඩ දුන්න එක මම හිතන්නේ දෛවයේ සරදමක් හැටියට තමයි මම සලකන්නේ. නමුත් ඒ වුණාට ඒ සම්බන්ධයෙන් තියෙන අහිතකර සංශෝධන අපි අහෝසි කරන තාක් කල් කිසිම ලෙසකින්වත් පළාත් සභාවලට ඉඩම් සහ පොලිස් බලතල අපි අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම නොදෙන බව මේ අවස්ථාවේදී ඉතාම පැහැදිලිවම කියා සිටිනවා.
The deadline issued by the Election Commission for political parties to submit their nominees for the national list seats allocated to them after the general election this month expired today. With 5 out of 7 parties having already finalised and submitted their national list choices to the Election Commission already, the 2 remaining parties, the United National Party and the Our Power of People Party, are yet to do so due to internal squabbling over which candidates will take up their single seats in Parliament. Meanwhile, the Election Commission's legal director says that the 2 seats will remain vacant until a resolution is arrived at.
Following the conclusion of the 2020 general elections earlier this month, a total of 7 parties ended up with national list seats. The party with the highest national list seat allocation was the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, who received 17, for which names have already been finalised and submitted to the Election Commission. By now, the Election Commission has already gazetted 19 national list recipients, including the 17 from the SLPP, and 1 seat each for the Ilankai Tamil Arasu Katchi and Ahila Ilankai Tamil Congress parties. In addition, the Jatika Janabalawegya too finalised their national list pick last week. Meanwhile, ahead of today's deadline, the Samagi Janabalawegya yesterday submitted its own list of picks for the 7 national list seats allocated to them. However, the only 2 parties that have missed today's deadline are those currently in the midst of internal struggles over who will occupy the single seats allocated to them, the United National Party and the Our Power of People Party. Legal Director of the Election Commission Nimalji Punchiheva, speaking on the issue, stated that the 2 seats will remain vacant until the parties achieve some closure. In the meantime, the leader of the Vijayadharani National Council, Venerable Athuraliya Ratanathera, reiterated his claim to be the single authority entrusted with the task of choosing the OPPP's national list nominee, according to the Memorandum of Understanding inked between the OPPP and his own organisation.
අපි මේ මැතිවරණයට ඉදිරිපත් වුණේ විජේදරණී ජාතික සභාව හැටියට. මෙහිදී අපට ලියාපදිංචි පක්ෂයක් නොතිබුණු නිසා අපට සිදු වුණා අපේ ජනබල පක්ෂය සමග සම්මුතියකට යන්න. ඒ අනුව අවබෝධතා ගිවිසුමකින් අපි සම්මුතියක් ඇති කරගත්තා. ඒ සම්මුතියට අනුව ජාතික ලැයිස්තුවේ පළවෙනි මන්ත්‍රීවරයා පත් කිරීමේ බලය මා වෙත පැවරී ඇති බව එහිදී පැහැදිලිව සඳහන් වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඒ අනුව අපි මේ වන විට ලියුමක් යවලා තිබෙනවා විමලතිස්ස ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේට සහ අපේ ජනබල පක්ෂයේ අලුතෙන් පත්විය කියන ලේකම්වරයාට හැකියක්මනින් මා විමසා එම මන්ත්‍රී ධුරය පත් කරන හැටියට. ඒ අනුව මාගේ අනුමැතියකින් තොරව කිසි ලෙසකින්වත් මන්ත්‍රීවරයා පත් කරන්න පුළුවන් කමක් ලැබෙන්නේ නැහැ. දැන් පැන නැගිලා තියෙන මන්ත්‍රී ධුරය සම්බන්ධයෙන් අනිවාර්යයෙන් මේකට උත්තරයක් සොයා ගන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ අධිකරණමය ක්‍රියාවලියකින්. ඒ අනුව එක පුජ්‍යලයෝ දෙන්නෙකුට යම් කිසි මැරවර කණ්ඩායමකට අවශ්‍ය විදියට මන්ත්‍රී ධුරය පිළිබඳ තීරණ ගන්න බැරි බව මා ඉතා පැහැදිලිව කියන්න ඕන. මගේ දැනුමේ හැටියට ජාතික ලැයිස්තු මන්ත්‍රී ධුරය අද නම් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. සමහර වෙලාවට 20 වෙනිදා පාර්ලිමේන්තුව තුල අපේ පාර්ලිමේන්තු මන්ත්‍රීවරයා වාඩි නොවෙන්නත් පුළුවන්. මොකද මේ වගේ සිද්ධීන් කලින් වෙලා තිනවා අවුරුදු දෙකමාරක් වගේ කාලයක් ජාතික ලැයිස්තු මන්ත්‍රී ධුරය සම්බන්ධයෙන් අධිකරණ ක්‍රියාවලියක් පැවතුණා. ඒ අනුව මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් තීරණයක් ගැනීමට ඒ තරම් දිග කාලයක් නෙවෙයි සමහරට අපිට මාසයක් වගේ කෙටි කාලයක් තුල මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් සම්මුතියකට එළඹෙන්න පුළුවන් කියලා මා විශ්වාස කරනවා.
In the meantime, the Attorney General has announced that he has provided legal advice to the Election Commission after his opinion was sought on the Our Power of People Party's national list issue.
Now, the current million-dollar question being mulled by the United National Party membership is whether youth or experience should lead the party out of its catastrophic loss at the 2020 general election earlier this month. The party once again seems to be split on the issue, with one faction backing former Speaker Karu Jayasuriya while the other faction calls for a youth leader to be introduced with new thinking towards party's recovery plans.
The working committee of the United National Party met at the party headquarters Sirikota this morning to make a decision with regard to the party leadership and its national list seat.
පක්ෂ නායකත්වය ගැන කොටසක් කියනවා නායකතුමාට පොඩ්ඩක් මාස 3ක් විතර ඉන්න කියලා. සමහර අය කියනවා කරු ජයසූරිය මැතිතුමා ගෙයුම් මෙතන කියලා. තවත් කොටසක් කියනවා තරුණ නායකත්වයට බාර දෙමු කියලා. දෙන තරුණ නායකත්වයේ කවුද කියන එක තීරණය කරන්න බෑ. 5-6 දෙනෙක් ඉල්ලනවා. කරු ජයසූරිය මහත්තයා සම්බන්ධයෙන් අදහස මොකද්ද? ඒක තමයි දැන් ඉස්සරහම තියෙන යෝජනාව. ඉතින් ඒකට බහුතරයක් කැමති වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඒ නිසා ඒක මොකක් හරි මේ ඒ සම්බන්ධව හොඳ තීන්දුවක් එයි.
අපේ මැතිවරණ ප්‍රතිඵල නැවත අපි විශ්ලේෂණය කළා. කුමක්ද කළ යුත්තේ කියන කාරණය පිළිබඳ අපි විශේෂ අවධානයක් යොමු කළා. ඒ අනුව ඉදිරි කටයුතු කරගෙන යන්න අපි තීරණය කළා. අනාගත නායකත්ව සම්බන්ධයෙන් ඔබතුමා නම යෝජනා කරලා තිනවා. ගැළපෙන නොගැළපෙන යෝජනා සියල්ලක් එකට මුසු කරලා ක්‍රියා කරන්න පක්ෂයේ හැටියට ක්‍රියා කරගෙන යනවා. ඒක කතානායකතුමාගේ තම යෝජනා තිබ්බ අපි දැක්කා. ඔව් විවිධ මත තිබෙනවා. නමුත් අනාගත පරම්පරාවට පක්ෂයේ හිමි යුතුයි කියන තැන පක්ෂයේ ස්ථාවරය තිබෙනවා. කවුද පරම්පරාව අනාගත පරම්පරාව විශාල පිරිසක් ඉන්නවා. ඒ ගැනත් දැනට දැම්ම තීරණයක් ගන්න අදහසක් නැහැ. ඒක තව ටිකක් බලලා නෑ එහෙම ඉවර වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒක ගන්න පුළුවන්.
සමගි ජන බලවේගය කියනවා දැන් මේ වෙලාවේ ඔබතුමාට පක්ෂ නායකත්වය දෙනවා කියන්නේ මහින්ද මහත්තයට පක්ෂ දුන්නා කියන වගේ එකක් කියලා.
දන්න ඒක සමගි බලවේගයෙන් අහන්න ඕන.
ඔබතුමා කරු ජයසූරිය මහත්තයට විරුද්ධද? ඒකනේ කෙලින්ම කියන්නකෝ.
මම එතුමාට විරුද්ධ නැහැ. නමුත් දේශපාලන ස්ථාවර වෙනස් අපේ.
අනාගත නායකතුමා ඔබතුමාද කියන්නේ?
ඒකමතිකව අවසන් කරනවා. ඒක කියන්න බෑ.
කියලා මූණෙන් වගේ පේන හැබැයි.
Meanwhile, the media unit of the United National Party says that the working committee decided to hand over the party to a young leadership. In a statement, the party media unit says an active mechanism will be set up to assign new responsibilities to the party's young leaders as the initial step. The statement further reads that the leadership will be handed over to a young leader who arises from within the party and from among the party membership. It adds that how they fulfill their responsibilities will be taken into consideration while working closely with party members and winning them over.
We will see you shortly after this break. Don't go away.
Ceylon Bank, the bank with a heart.
Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, police have taken another step towards ridding Sri Lanka of drugs and the underworld with the arrest of a woman who may have operated multi-million rupee bank accounts, that is, on behalf of her drug racketeer brother. A sum in the excess of 300 million rupees has passed through multiple bank accounts of the suspect within the last 3 years. One of her sons and her brother are currently incarcerated over drug offences.
Manori Randima alias Akka was arrested as a result of Senior Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of the Western Province, Deshabandhu Tennakon, being tipped off. The relevant investigation was conducted by Senior Superintendent of Police in charge of the Mount Lavinia Police Division. Police said the suspect is the sister of the Booster prison inmate, drug racketeer Mervyn Jana. On the 25th of June, a couple was arrested while in possession of 1 kg of heroin. Their interrogations led to information of another 5 persons being revealed. After questioning the said 5 suspects, the police arrested the sister of drug racketeer Mervyn Jana. The police added that the arrest was aided by CCTV footage obtained from a bank which was frequented by one of Mervyn Jana's bakery employees named Gamini. It was revealed recently that 140 million rupees had been transacted via Gamini's bank account. Subsequently, the police had launched investigations using the national identity card number of the person known as Akka to apprehend her. Interrogations of the suspect had revealed that 305 million rupees had been transacted across 5 of her bank accounts within a span of 3 years. Over 161 million rupees had been transacted via one of the suspect's bank accounts, while a sum exceeding 120 million rupees had been transacted via another. The police also seized a motor vehicle which is suspected to have been obtained with drug money. One of the suspect's son is also imprisoned over drug-related offences.
කොළඹ ප්‍රදේශයේ ප්‍රසිද්ධ පාසල්වලට මත්ද්‍රව්‍ය අලෙවි කරන තැනැත්තන් අලුත්ම උපක්‍රමයක් පාවිච්චි කර තිබෙනවා. මත්ද්‍රව්‍ය අලෙවි කිරීම සඳහා ඔවුන් භාවිතා කරනවා ඉන්හේලර් කියලා ස්ප්‍රේ කරන යන්ත්‍ර ආශ්‍රයෙන් මත්ද්‍රව්‍ය පාසල් දරුවන්ට අලෙවි කිරීමේ උපක්‍රමයක්. මේ වාගේ වෙනි එක උපකරණයක් රුපියල් 15000ක මුදලකට අලෙවි කරන බව තමයි වාර්තා වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. මේත් ඒ වගේම තව උපකරණයක්.
In the meantime, the Colombo Fort Police unravelled a drug racket operated in Petta under the guise of a tea stall. The operation had targeted bus and long vehicle drivers. Police have apprehended a suspect with 3 grams of heroin and she is a resident of Kalania. The Fort Police also arrested 4 suspects today who extorted money from bus drivers in Petta. They are residents of Ambilipitia, Gampaha and Kalania. Elsewhere, the anti-corruption unit of the Ratnapura police arrested 2 suspects while in possession of a firearm and 2 live foreign-made hand grenades. They were apprehended during a raid conducted in the area of Karangoda in Ratnapura. Meanwhile, various gambits used by suspects to smuggle narcotics into prisons continues to be revealed. Some of the drugs had been concealed within food and other items brought for the inmates by visitors. Some prison officials too had smuggled drugs into prisons by concealing them within their hats and footwear.
පසුගිය මාස දෙක කාලය තුළ විවිධ දූෂණ ක්‍රියාවන් වලට සම්බන්ධ වෙච්ච බන්ධනාගාර නිලධාරීන් 15 දෙනෙක් අපි වැඩතහනම් කරන්න කටයුතු කරලා තිනවා. මෙම නිලධාරීන් මහර මැගසින් මාතර බූස්ස කොළඹ රිමාන්ඩ් බන්ධනාගාරය වැලිකඩ ගාල්ල මීගමුව වාරියපොළ සහ අඟුණකොළ පැලස්ස යන බන්ධනාගාර වලට අයත් උපරිම දඬුවම් ලබා දෙන්න කටයුතු කරනවා. බරපතල චෝදනාවන් සඳහා අපි කිසිම ආකාරයකින් මේ නිලධාරීන් නැවත සේවයට මදවා ගැනීමක් කරන්නේ නැහැ. ඒගොල්ලෝ අපි සේවයෙන් පහ කිරීමට කටයුතු කරනවා. අපිට තොරතුරු තියෙනවා මේ නිලධාරීන් සිරකරුවන් සමග අනවශ්‍ය සම්බන්ධකම් තියෙනවා කියලා. අපේ පරිපාලනයට සහයෝගය නොදෙන මීගමුව බන්ධනාගාරයෙන් නිලධාරීන් 9කුත් බූස බන්ධනාගාරයෙන් නිලධාරීන් 10 දෙනෙකුත් අපි මෙවැනි විට ස්ථාන මාරු කරන්න කටයුතු කරලා තියෙනවා.
Moving on with other stories, all the universities will resume from next Monday as usual. The chairman of the University Grants Commission made the announcement today while stressing that some restrictions, such as the 1 occupant limit for rooms at hostels, will be completely lifted. In the meantime, the Divisional Secretariat and the Pradesh Sabha of Lankapura in Polonnaruwa were also reopened today. They were closed on the 30th of last month after 2 COVID-19 infections were confirmed from within the 2 institutions.
Chairman of the University Grants Commission, Professor Sampath Amratunga, gave his views on the resumption of university activities today. Addressing a media briefing that was held at the Government Information Department, he said that universities will resume on Monday the 17th of August as usual.
විශ්වවිද්‍යාල අගෝස්තු මාසේ 17 වෙනිදා සිට සුපුරුදු පරිදි සියලුම අධ්‍යයන කටයුතු සඳහා යොමු වෙන බවයි. නේවාසිකාගාරවල මේ දක්වා අපි එක් කාමරයක එක් දරුවෙක් පමණයි නේවාසික ගත කරේ. නමුත් මෙතෙන් පටන් ඒ සීමාවක් නැහැ. සාමාන්‍ය පරිදි විශ්වවිද්‍යාලවල කටයුතු කරගෙන යන්න පුළුවන්. විශේෂයෙන්ම අපේ රටේ මේ කොවිඩ් වසංගතය පැවැත්වෙන අවස්ථාවේදීත් අපි විශ්වවිද්‍යාල ක්‍රියාත්මක කරා. විභාග පැවැත්වුණා මේ පසුගිය මාස 2 පුරාවටම. නමුත් දැන් සමාජයෙන් මේ කොවිඩ් තත්ත්වය තුරන් වෙලා ගොස් ඇති බව අපි සැලකරන නිසා අපිට පුළුවන්කම ලැබෙනවා දරුවන්ගේ අනාගතය ගැන වැඩි සැලකිල්ලක් අරගෙන ඔවුන්ව විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයට කැඳවාගෙන සුපුරුදු අධ්‍යාපන පිළිවෙතට යොමු වෙන්න.
In the meantime, a school which closed yesterday after one of its students was suspected to have contracted COVID-19 reopened today. PCR tests were conducted in the area of Rajanganaya and suspicions arose that the student in question might be a COVID-19 patient. After it came to light that the suspected patient had in fact previously contracted the virus and had recovered from it, ruling out the possibility of him infecting another, the restrictions were lifted. All his associates who were directed towards self-isolation were also brought out of it. Meanwhile, the Lankapura Divisional Secretariat and the Pradeshya Sabha in the district of Polonnaruwa were reopened today. They were closed after 2 COVID-19 positive cases were confirmed from within the 2 institutions. However, 114 persons belonging to 28 families that were directed to quarantine from the area of Lankapura are still under self-quarantine in Lankapura. In the meantime, the one and only COVID-19 patient that was confirmed yesterday is a returnee from the United Arab Emirates. Today, however, 4 new COVID-19 infections were confirmed. But 12 COVID-19 infected persons also left hospital today after fully recovering from the virus. This put the country's number of coronavirus recoveries at 2,659, while pushing the number of active cases in the island to 217.
Attorney General Dappole de Oliveira strongly denies media reports alleging that he has approved the Millennium Challenge Cooperation Compact Agreement. The Attorney General's coordinating officer, State Counsel Nisha Rajaratna, said that the AG further informs that the matter is still under consideration. The experts committee appointed to review the proposed Millennium Challenge Cooperation Compact handed over its final report to the government in June. The report was subsequently made public while it urges the government to reject the agreement. The MCC agreement is currently under review by the Attorney General's department. We will see you shortly. Bear with us. Welcome back. This is First at 9. Now, with the government's continued ban on non-essential imports, the country's trade deficit has narrowed further to $161 million, recording the lowest monthly deficit since August 2019. The central bank's external sector report for the month of June, released today, also reported tourist arrivals to be stagnant at 507,311 during the past 6 months of 2020. With tourism industry earnings at $956 million during the same period.
The central bank's external sector report for the month of June 2020 says that the deficit in the trade account narrowed during the month to $161 million from $316 million in June 2019, recording the lowest monthly deficit since August 2009. Further, on a cumulative basis, the trade deficit narrowed by $335 million to $3.262 billion during the first 6 months of 2020 from $3.597 billion in the corresponding period of 2019. In addition, earnings from merchandise exports rebounded sharply, recording $894 million in June 2020 compared to $587 million recorded in May 2020. However, compared to June 2019, earnings from merchandise exports declined significantly by 17.5% in June 2020. Earnings from agricultural exports, meanwhile, grew considerably by 12% on a year-on-year basis in June 2020 for the first time since May 2019, led by all agriculture export subcategories except for unmanufactured tobacco. Meanwhile, earnings from tea recorded growth after 10 months in June 2020, driven by higher average export prices of tea, although the volume exported recorded a minor decline. Earnings from spices too increased, with higher export volumes of cinnamon and pepper, while earnings from coconut increased as a result of higher average export prices of kernel products and higher export volumes of non-kernel products. Meanwhile, with no tourist arrivals recorded for the third consecutive month, cumulative tourist arrivals remained at 507,311 during the first 6 months of 2020, compared to 1,008,449 arrivals recorded during the corresponding period in 2019. Accordingly, cumulative earnings from tourism, which are estimated based on tourist arrivals, remained at $956 million during the first 6 months of 2020, recording a drop of 49.7% from the corresponding period of 2019. Meanwhile, workers' remittances recorded a growth of 6.7% in June 2020 year-on-year to $572 million, mainly due to festival allowances received by migrant workers in the Middle East.
Now in your market update, Sri Lankan shares rose for a fourth straight session today, closing at more than a 5-month high, helped mainly by gains in industrial stocks. The benchmark CSE All Share Price Index ended 0.5% higher at 5,261.99, its highest closing level since the 10th of March. Conglomerates John Keells Holdings plc and Lion Brewery plc were the biggest boosts to the index, climbing 4.3% to 124 rupees and 60 cents and 6.9% to 598 rupees and 90 cents respectively. Now here's a brief report on today's market performance.
Better than expected results from the banking sector counters led highly active market on uptick for a fourth consecutive session. And market experienced size downtrend during the first 40 minutes of the trading. Thereafter move upward due to the strong buying interest in the selected banking counters. And later the market recorded stagnant movement and closed at 5,262, gaining 26 points. And turnover recorded a 3-month high dominated by the banking counters, contributing 61%, led by DFCC. And moreover, the parcel trade boosted the turnover, amounting 90% of the total turnover. And market recorded moderate participation with the edge with the selling side, resulting in a net foreign outflow.
In the meantime, the Sri Lankan rupee closed stronger at 182 rupees and 70 cents against the US dollar today in the spot market, while bond yields eased. The rupee closed at 182 rupees and 90 cents and 183 rupees against the greenback yesterday. Now let's take a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee traded against other major currencies during the day. And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.